This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one-of-its-kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sfurti, shakti and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Storytellers Cafe. I'm your host, Usha Venkatraman from Mumbai, India. I welcome all the listeners from the beautiful city of Bangalore, India, and also from the United States, Cincinnati, Phoenix, and Chicago. And to all the listeners from India, a very warm welcome on the occasion of this festive season. Tomorrow is Janmashtami. So let's celebrate on Storytellers Cafe with storytellers. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 storytellers. So sit back, my friends, hold your drink, whichever is, your favorite, coffee, tea, since it's breakfast, brunch time in the United States and evening in India. Hold your drink, toast to Storytellers Cafe, sit back, enjoy listening to stories. Like I said, we have 4 storytellers, and this will be a 2-part episode. So today, that is the 29th of August, followed with 5th of September, because there's so much to hear, to listen to the stories, listen to their experiences. I have 4 wonderful women from Bangalore. Let me introduce the first lady, Meera Venkatesan. Meera, welcome to Storytellers Cafe, and it's our pleasure. And let me give you a brief about Meera. Meera Venkatesan is a professional performance storyteller, trainer, and learning consultant with a love of words and a deep desire to create meaningful learning. Meera is part of the creative storytelling group called Katha Crafters. She loves to don many hats, including writing, scripting, poetry, and storytelling. Meera has worked extensively to create story-based curriculums to enhance learning. She started her experiments with storytelling about 10 years ago at the Kathalaya Academy, the World Academy of Storytelling. Since then, her career in storytelling and friendship with stories has grown and matured in many different ways through teaching, performances, training, and entertainment. Meera will tell us a lot more about her experience, her journey, and also share a story with us. Let me get my second guest today. It's Parvathy Eswaran. Parvathy, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. My pleasure. She was the point of contact, actually. And I've seen these 4 amazing women perform their beautiful production called Maanini. And friends, you're in for a treat. On Janmashtami, on the 30th of August, Maanini will be streamed live on Bharat FM, a real treat on the occasion of Janmashtami from Storytellers Cafe on Bharat FM. Let me give you a brief about Parvathy. Parvathy Eswaran is a storyteller by passion and by choice, and believes that stories are there all around us in plenty, as free as the air we breathe. I love this description. She believes that storytelling is an important educational tool and conducts workshops for teachers on the techniques of storytelling. She has performed in many spaces, including the National Storytelling Network, United States, Feast, the Federation of Asian Storytellers, based in Singapore, and her journey in storytelling started after a 25-year stint in the corporate at the Academy of Storytelling in Kathalaya. Parvathy designed and created the Teacher's Handbook through phonics and stories to teach English for the underprivileged. Parvathy is a part of the creative storytelling group Katha Crafters. Meera and Parvathy have Katha Crafters in common, and we'll hear more about it from the two of them. Now, let me bring my third guest, Jyoti Kunjoor, onto the screen, onto our studios. Jyothi, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. My pleasure. Three wonderful ladies from Bangalore. And Jyothi, I think, is a singer. So, Jyothi will have a song from you. Let me introduce you to our listeners across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Jyoti Kunju to you. Jyothi is a professional storyteller from Bangalore who loves to spread joy through storytelling. In her 10 years of rich storytelling experience, she has conducted more than 2,000 storytelling sessions for children and adults alike. Wow! From schools to corporates, libraries to village squares, Jyoti has woven magical tales across Karnataka state, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana. She has been a part of several online and offline literature festivals and workshops. An alumnus of Kathalaya, one more, from the International Academy of Storytelling, Kathalaya, based in Bangalore. Jyoti currently works as a story curator and storyteller with Bethany High School and with Skook. I hope I'm getting it right, Skooc, a Bangalore based startup dealing with children's well being. So, welcome to Storytellers Cafe, Jyoti. And
Thank you.
thank you. And let me introduce the last but not the least guest on Storytellers Cafe, Anagha Prasad. Anagha, welcome to Storytellers Cafe.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Our pleasure to have you here. Host you all wonderful ladies on Storytellers Cafe. Let me give you a brief about Anagha. Anagha Prasad is an engineer by qualification, but a trained storyteller by passion for the past 6 years. Having worked in the IT industry for 10 years, she shifted her tracks when her calling of life came to light. She discovered her love for fitness and pursued her passion towards stories and fitness together. That is something new. I know stories keep you mentally agile. Now, I believe fitness is the physical fitness. Let's hear more about it from Anagha. Anagha enjoys telling stories to all age groups and captivates her audience using her voice and body language. Anagha started her storytelling with Kathalaya and now is part of a group called Katha Crafters. Anagha combines dance and yoga in her telling. Isn't that wonderful, ladies and gentlemen? So, here's presenting the four wonderful, colorful ladies from the garden city of Bangalore. Welcome to Storytellers Cafe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, like I said, friends, this is a two-part episode. I don't know, might just go into a four-part episode. Who knows? Yeah, because like I said, every storyteller needs that airtime to talk about her journey, share a story with us. And these ladies have one thing in common, that is Katha crafters and their production Maanini. Well, more about it a little later. Let me first invite Meera. And Meera, can you tell me about your journey? How did you start into storytelling? You are an, sorry, Meera, I forgot. I took you off. Apologies.
No
Uh,
problem.
um, Anagha, I'll take you. Meera, it's very surprising. I know you're an engineer and and you've been in the field of storytelling for the last 10 years. You started with Katha. Can you tell us about your journey? What's your story?
Thank you so much, Usha. It's great to be part of this show, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. My story, yeah. My story took a lot of twists and turns, I should say. But it started coming closer to storytelling when I think the way most of us do when with my child, with my daughter, when I realized that I enjoyed telling stories to her so much. But before that, I had been exposed to stories a lot because my father and grandfather were such amazing storytellers. So my childhood was full of stories. So for me, the my most beautiful childhood memory ever has been my grandfather had this mosquito net in which he used to sleep. So me and my brother used to snuggle inside, and he used to give us a half an hour of story every day. So this went on for quite a long time, even after we stopped fitting inside. But that I don't think that ever left. So that was always there. My love for stories. But I never thought of myself as a storyteller. It's a usual rat race, kind of finish your education. Then I started working, and then I went to US, and then I had my daughter there. And so I didn't realize that I was enjoying telling stories so much. I just thought that she's laughing because she's my daughter. I mean, a child is supposed to enjoy her mother's stories. That's what I thought. Well, anyway, it was actually, I had taken her to the Crosswords bookstore when she was very young, when she was around 3 years old. And then there I saw a storyteller from Cathalia conducting a storytelling session. Of course, in US, it was very common. So all libraries, and we used to go there regularly. She used to enjoy it, and I used to enjoy it. I never realized that I used to enjoy it so much. I thought, yeah, I was taking my daughter along. Then when I saw this in India, I was completely intrigued, and then I went and asked her, like, how did you start this entire thing? She said, no, there is an organization called Khatalia which trains people in storytelling. That was really great. That was really amazing. But it took me another 3-4 years to actually get to that, because I was like, no, it's not like, I'm settled and I'm working and things are going okay. And I don't know, I don't think I am, into that. It's not for me. And one day, it just so happened that it was a second brush with Catalia when I decided that, no, I want to try it out. Let me just try it out. What is there? I can just go and do it. That's how I went and did the course with Gita Ramanujam ma'am, when I was hooked. So at that time when I went and did the course, I had two young children and I was working, and I was sort of, I didn't know, I was feeling a sort of, guilty to take time off from my work. I thought this is not done. So then I had my mother take care of both my kids. For at that time it was spread across 5 days, and then I worked through the night. I mean, up to the night, late night, and sort of shifts. So when I did it, and I was completely hooked. So then after that, it was like bit by bit, I did some storytellings, and I really could get the sense of it, that how happy it made me feel to create it, to come out with something so intriguing and so beautiful, and of course how happy it made the audience feel. I that was a skill which I never knew existed with me, and I had never thought about it. Then after some time, when my in my career, had to take a break because of personal reasons. That was when I went back to my uh, discovered love kind of thing, and I think after that there has been no looking back. So it was so then every new experience was something, had something new to learn. Every time I told the story, there was something new to learn, something. I did some scripting, I did some of course storytelling, and then it was in the last 2-3 years that all this I think this thing of performances started. Otherwise, before that, it was just you do a story, that there's an opportunity, and then come back. But this completely opened up something completely different, and I think over the last few years, as a storyteller, it's not just as a storyteller. I have discovered a Meera which I never knew existed till that date. And every time, I think as I keep growing as a storyteller, I'm discovering new things about myself, and I'm finding that completely amazing, and I'm enjoying it, being immersed in this storytelling.
Thank you, Meera. Yes, yes. What a wonderful journey. You were in the United States. Why did you come back from the US?
So that was, I think my daughter was around 3 years old at the time, and then both me and my husband, we felt that she needed family. So that was our reasoning, and so we were back. And so from it has been quite a long time now, but yeah, that is the reason we came
Uh,
back.
I, I completely agree, but that I know other, I think, who have just mushroomed as storytellers, who have an engineering background, who are working in New York, but then decided to come back to India because, they wanted to bring up their children, nurture them in India with grandparents. And my question to all you engineers and technical whiz kids is, why do you why did you enter the profession of storytelling? What about us, who knew nothing other than to tell stories? And Bangalore has so many storytellers, and everyone is an engineer. If I'm not mistaken, I think three out of you, you're all engineers, and I think Parvathy has a science background. Okay. So, thank you, Meera. That is wonderful. I would like to bring Parvathy Eswaran onto the screen. And Parvathy, welcome to Storytellers Cafe.
Yeah,
And would love
thank you.
to hear about your journey. How did your story?
It's an answer which I have also sort of thought, and I've never found the answer for that till now. I was working in the corporate. I was in the managerial capacity. I was working in the insurance company. Then I had to, for personal reasons, I had to leave my job. In that sense, I was happy there, but still I had the commitment, so I had to leave. I was in Chennai at that point of time, And then my husband got his transfer to Bangalore, and it looks so amusing when I say that. As we were entering Bangalore, I told my husband, I want to tell stories. From where did that come to my mind? I have no idea. I have no idea. To be very frank, I have not gone for any storytelling sessions, nothing. I had gone in Chennai because there was no time with all the house and children and office. It never happened. But this, the thought just out of the blue, you can say, it just came to my, and I won't tell. It was a sort of a shell shocked husband looked at me. What are you? What storytelling? What? I said, yes, I want to tell stories to children. For me, that point of time, it was more of the underprivileged is what I had in mind. And that is what I've always been thinking of. Even now, I do that. And then it was, I don't know, everything fell in place because that was the time one day I was reading the paper and I saw Kathalaya there in the some article on, I think, Gita Ramanujam or Kathalaya. I read and I said, there seems to be some institute for storytelling. So then Ishwaran asked me, okay, you want to do that course, fine, but how do you know that you're going to be a good storyteller? Now, that was a risk I had to take, whether to go for that course, what do I do? And then it so happened, my aunt came there, she was planning to go for this Kathalaya course, and she pulled me along and she said, come, let's go. And there my journey started on storytelling. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience I had, and I realized that yes, maybe I have that ability to tell a story or whatever. And very another thing is, when I told my friends that my childhood friends that I'm going to tell stories, I'm going to be a storyteller. One of my friends actually told me, "But you always tell stories, yeah. You anything we talk to you, you tell it like a story." Now that was something which I didn't know I was doing even before. So maybe I had, yeah. As Meera was telling, I had a great, wonderful time with my grandma who used to tell us stories. It was in Tamil. She used to அந்த வாக்குல கிருஷ்ணன் என்ன பண்ணினா அப்படி she would tell. And the Amarchitra Kathas I used to tell when to my all my friends, read it and tell a story. Afterwards I realized that I used to tell stories when I was with my friends younger, and with my sisters I used to tell all stories which I'd heard as this movie. So that's how it happened. And then over a period of time, yes, I have also evolved as a storyteller. And to me, storytelling, I feel children have to be exposed to more storytelling, and and concepts to be introduced through storytelling is something which I totally, fully believe in it. I believe that yes, stories are very important for a child. And what I feel is, in the underprivileged, there is no scope for the parents telling. They don't understand what is a story. So actually, Meera and we used to go. I was staying then in HSR layout in Bangalore. We used to go monthly twice to the park, dum 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 dum, have the drum and go to the park there and call story time. Come, all of you, all the kids who were playing. I mean, they were not the even. I mean. Like us, the parents and the children, they were also there, but there were other children also who used to come running, and like Pied Piper, they used to follow us to that particular place. We used to go sit and we tell the story, and they used to really enjoy the stories. And it was such a pleasure telling stories to them. Where do they have that opportunity to hear stories? They don't have. Where is the time for the mother, or maybe the parents themselves do not know how to tell a story? That way I feel that is one thing. But this pandemic had come, and that stopped for us. We couldn't go that much. I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. But online, we have been telling stories. Yes, even there's an NGO, we tell stories to them. and other children also we tell. So actually, pandemic in a way for online storytelling has helped to grow even more, I should say. Yeah, that's my journey.
Yes, Parvathy, it's really interesting when you spoke about, today's children don't listen to stories. They see stories being played out on the television channels or on their smartphones and iPads. I remember about in somewhere in 1995, 1996, when I was teaching in a kindergarten school. One mother said, I'm going off for a 3 months holiday to Europe. So will you come home and tell stories? I think I was shocked. I was shocked. I said, what? So I said, no. And then I thought to myself, I told stories to my children since they were born, and because I listened to stories from my grandmother. So I completely understand that today children, uh, most of them or some of them don't have the joy of listening to stories from their parents or grandparents. Yes.
True.
Thank you, Parvati.
Thank you.
Thank you for that journey about your story, how you got into storytelling. Friends, to all the listeners, you're listening to Storytellers Cafe on Bharat FM. And today we have four dynamic women from the beautiful city of Bangalore who are storytellers and who have stories in common among them. And let's move on to the third storyteller, who is Jyoti Kunju. Let me get Jyoti onto the screen. Jyoti, tell us your story, your journey.
A very good evening, Usha. I hope you're fine, and I hope all our listeners are doing well too. And good morning to all our listeners in the United States. Well, as Usha said, my name is Jyoti Kunjoor, and I am a storyteller. You know, Usha, my first memory of storytelling comes as a child. We had a cook in our house. She was a child widow, and we were probably her children. So she would tell me, I was a very talkative child. I still am talkative, but nothing like how I was when I was a child. She would tell me stories from the Mahabharata. And my dad had this habit of recording everyone speaking. So we had so many tapes of our relatives when they came home. You know, my father would record their conversations. And like this, I remember being recorded as a child narrating Shishupala's story from Mahabharata. So that's my first recollection of storytelling. And I am and I was a voracious reader, and I would read all books that I could lay my hands on. So any book that I could read, I would read. So my love for stories comes from childhood. And one more storytelling that really impressed me as a child was when I was probably 8, 9 years old. There's a very, he's no more, a very learned Pandit called Banaji Govindacharya, who would narrate the story of the Mahabharata over 1 week. And I remember being lost in that narration, and that must have, affected me at some point in time. Well, coming to about 10 years ago, my daughter used to attend school in the afternoon. So I would ferry her and her friends to school, and on the way, I would keep them entertained with songs and stories and rhymes. And if, one of her friend's mothers, she told me, she said, why don't you start a class for these kids? Mornings, anyway, they don't do anything much. So why don't you tell them stories and, teach them songs and rhymes? And that is how I began telling stories. So they would come home, my daughter would be there, and we would read stories, tell stories, and learn songs. And this became a weekly thing. And then one day I read about Kathalaya, and I thought, since I enjoy storytelling, maybe I should take it to the next level. And that's exactly what I did. I joined the course. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I began, working with Kathalaya, doing storytelling for them. And a few years later, I joined Bethany High School as a storytelling teacher. Now, this was where I really got hooked on to storytelling, because I saw, Usha, how much the children enjoyed listening to stories. There was no agenda. I didn't teach them anything. I just went and told them stories. And every time I entered the classroom, they would just come and hug me and say, "Ma'am, we're so happy to see you." And I felt like a minor star. And I realized that the star was not me, but the star was the story I told. And since that time, I've never looked back. I also did storytelling for Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Vidya Mandir for 2 years. And even today, in this online world, I continue telling stories almost every single day. And it's been an amazing journey, and I absolutely love it. So that's about my storytelling journey.
This is wonderful, Jai Gurudev,
Yeah,
Jyoti, and that's how we greet all the art of living rasikas and bhaktas.
right.
Wonderful, wonderful, Jyoti. Abroad they say storytellers in residence. So you're being part of the Bethany High School as a storyteller,
Yeah,
who just tells stories. That's wonderful. I think this is beautiful to attach yourself to one school, and some storytellers in Bangalore, I think, are doing that. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea.
yes.
So, thank you for that lovely introduction. And
Right.
let me get Anagha, Prasad on to Storytellers Cafe. Before that, friends, these four wonderful ladies have, of course, storytelling in common, but also Maanini, their production, which was showcased last year, and I was an audience, and I loved it so much that for this year's Janmashtami, it's going to be streamed live on Storytellers Cafe tomorrow, that is 30th of August. So please stay tuned. We will let you know about the time, the best time for viewing it. And you can always go and access the archives. It's Storytellers Cafe will stay on YouTube as well as on the Bharat FM Facebook page, and you can go and listen to this episode, this session, whenever you want, in case you have missed it. Now, let me get the last but not the least, Anagha Prasad, storyteller from Bangalore. Anagha, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. And what's your story?
Thank you so much, Tusha. And I think it's a pleasure to talk about us and all our work to the people from Bharat FM and all the people who are watching us. Well, my story, I think, is like a combined thing of whatever all the three of them told. So, again, it starts back from childhood. The first memory that I have from about storytelling is what my mama tata told me. So, that's my dad's maternal uncle. So, he would narrate a lot of stories to us. And Amma used to narrate, and Party also used to narrate, but the way Mama Tata used to narrate was very, very captivating. He would have these sounds and everything. So he would go on the குரங்கு வந்துட்டு படங்கிற கீழே விழுந்தது, and he would have all these sounds, and we would just keep sitting at gaping at him and listening, and we would listen to the same story I don't know how many times. And the second thing that I remember from my childhood is in my fifth standard, my English teacher narrated Hamlet to us. And she narrated it as a two-part series, just like how our episode is going to be, continuously for 2 periods. And it was so captivating that I think I forgot that there was a lunch break after that I was hungry, thirst, and I had like a 1 rupee note which Amma had given to me to buy something. And I was so engrossed in that in the pocket I had taken it out and I had torn it into these small tiny bits, listening to that what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next. So, but it was just in the back of the mind, like how Jyoti also said, I was like super talkative. I still am. Then life happened and engineering, just like any other Bangalorean. Corporate life, oh my God, I had no clue what I was doing there. Talking to the computers was not my cup of tea, and I needed people. And I had no clue what I have to do. So that's when I started exploring different forms of fitness just for myself. It was not that I wanted to change my career or anything of that sort. So I tried all kinds of things. And it was interesting. So I thought maybe I should change my career line and get into fitness industry. Then I got married and I got pregnant and I lost my first baby. Like he was born and after a few hours we lost him. And that's when I took a break and I was like, what am I running for? Why do I have to travel so much? I'm not happy. Should I even continue the corporate life? But I had no clue what to do and I didn't want to sit at home. So the 3 months of maternity leave that I had and I was sitting at home without the baby in my hand, I was just reading paper and like what Parvathy said, I saw this ad. I think it was in 2014. I saw this ad. I think it was an article on Gita Ramanujam and that they have this course. So I just told my husband I want to do this course. It was a 3-day course. I just wanted a break from whatever was happening. So I went there and it was beautiful. It just like captivated me and it was nice. So through Kathalaya, I got these small opportunities to go tell stories to children, and it was like very, very therapeutic. I just, for those 10 minutes that I was telling story, I forgot whatever was happening around me. I said, okay, this is it. I don't know whether it's going to kick off. I don't know if I'm going to be a great storyteller. It doesn't matter. I'm quitting my corporate job. And I got into storytelling and started telling stories with Kathalaya, and then joined an organization called Valid. I'm still with them. So through storytelling, we do a lot of value-based education. And again, like Jyothi said, when I go enter the class, the love that we get from the children, again, for stories, just was like a thappa that, yes, you are on the right track. You're enjoying it. Just continue. And over a period of time, just like how Meera said, I'm just referring to all the three of them because there's a lot of things I think storytelling just makes you realize. I started realizing what I am. It was more of a self-discovery. I realized the power of silence because of storytelling. So that pause that we give in each story has so much power. And likewise, a lot of silence came into my life, which was not there earlier. Started discovering a lot of different aspects of myself as to the different, when we call what are the essential qualities of the storyteller, I think is equivalent to what is the essential qualities of being a great person for yourself, right? So that's how my journey was. But what really hooked me on was it was very, very healing for me. So after losing my baby in this last 6-7 years, I think it is made me come to terms, accept what things are. And it didn't take me a very long time to accept this because of the power of stories and what they teach you. And what I really loved and discovered in these 7 years is, again, the same thing what we did as children. We don't listen to a story just once. We listen to it many, many times, right? And depending on which stage of life we are, how beautifully we take what we want based on our state of mind and our perspective. I think that is what really made me just stick on to this storytelling. And again, my fitness love, whatever I had discovered, I kind of merged it with this. So I do stories with yoga poses, make the children do it. I've also tried making the adults do it, and they really enjoy it. Also, my passion for dance. So I try and include yoga, dance, and story all together. So yes, it's been a very therapeutic, um, healing, beautiful self-discovery journey with storytelling for the last 7 years. With all my passions put together, I think that is like a icing. I mean, cherry on the icing. So yes, so that's my story of storytelling.
Thank you, Anagha. So sorry for your loss. I too lost my firstborn daughter when she was 6 months of age, and and that's when my mother enrolled me into the 1 year diploma course in early childhood education.
Wow.
And because she just wanted me to be busy, so I just went in, and I discovered, because storytelling is a very integral part of the course, so I discovered my love, and I discovered, of course, I love stories because I also grew up listening to stories from my grandmother. And ever since then, there was no turning back. And my mother would say, my daughter's name was Samyukta. She would say, Samyukta is the Margadarshini. She will show you the direction in life. And as we can see,
Yeah.
that today, wherever I am, is also due to my love, the passion which got ignited. You know, you need trigger points in life.
True.
And I completely agree with you that storytelling is eye to eye, face to face, and heart to heart. And you need to be physically present with your audience. So I fully agree with you. And let me get all the other three tellers onto the screen. Welcome back, ladies, to the studio. And it was wonderful to hear about your story, your journey. I think all three of you, I don't know, Anagha, did you also study at Kathalaya?
Yes, yes.
So all five of us have Kathalaya in common. Geeta Ramanujan. I too visited her in 2010 and did a course in Kathalaya. That was, I think, a 5 week or a 7 week, and I stayed in a hotel close to Kathalaya school and did that. And I've already been telling stories, but I never knew that, there is a structure to it, right? So it was wonderful and fun to be part of Kathalaya. And I know so many storytellers today are, from the School of Storytelling, Kathalaya. So here's to Geeta Ramanujam for, unfurling the passion in so many of us, in Indians, and it's wonderful, and reviving the dying art form of storytelling. So, Geeta, here's to you. And so many of my guests on Storytellers Cafe are all, alumnus of Kathalaya. Okay, so I can say that this is, as of now, I said a two-part episode, might stretch to three-part. And listeners, you know that tomorrow these four ladies' production, Maanini. So I'm going to talk to them about Maanini. I would like each one of them to talk about their production, because we are showcasing this on Storytellers Cafe on the occasion of Janmashtami. And then we will listen to one story from Meera. Because, as you know, ladies, the USP of Storytellers Cafe is stories. You know, we all want to listen to stories. So that's going to be the flow for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we will have a second episode on the 5th of September. And I feel maybe the third episode on the 12th. So let's see how the whole thing pans out, right? Because there is a lot of fatigue. I mean, if you expect people to sit and watch for more than an hour, then they tune out. And I don't want to do that because I would like them to listen to each and every one of you. So, my question to you is, tell us a bit about Maanini. How did the four of you come together? So, I'm going to remove myself from the screen. So, Meera, go ahead first, followed by Parvathy, then Jyothi, and Anagha. Okay, so the stage is yours. Tell us about Maanini because we're going to showcase it tomorrow to all the viewers all over the world, to the global Indian diaspora and others, anybody who wishes to catch this production. You don't want to miss it, my friends. Meera.
Sure. Thank you again so much, Usha. Yes, Maanini is definitely something very, very close to our hearts because of the way I think we were talking about journey, right? So I think the journey of Maanini was as beautiful for us as the final product. Interestingly, I don't know even if you all remember it started off as a Women's Day program. So we wanted to bring out something which will showcase the strength of women for Women's Day. So that was the thought which we started, and then as we started talking about stories, and then we were thinking about what could be the common thread between them and things like that, and finally somewhere it started coming around. And they always say that the thoughts, the vibrations came to us, and somehow these kind of stories started falling into our minds. For what reason, I don't know. I think it just happened. When there are so many stories, why did they have to come? But then what happened? It was in March, and each of us had our own issues because of which we couldn't do it that time. So it sort of got said, okay, fine, we'll do it next year. Was the plan. So then we went on with our other storytelling things, and then again, then suddenly we realized that this entire thing, unknown to us, has started revolving around the stories of Krishna. Yes. So that was when we thought, like, this is something so beautiful. Maybe Maanini was waiting for Janmashtami, and that was why it didn't happen in March. And I would say that was how the entire thing started. And then we said, okay, fine, let us do this for Janmashtami. But we are focusing on the women in Krishna's life. Through that, we are also, of course, talking about Krishna himself.
Yeah.
Parvati.
Yeah, that's true. We were thinking about something in March, but we couldn't do it in March because it was a women. Another thing which happened was a pandemic also happened. So it was like we were planning to do it as a offline thing, the Women's Day. Then the pandemic happened, then everything went sort of online, and we were trying to find out ourselves on the screen, trying to see what it is. And then again that seed came, that thought came, why not, because we did one online tathastu, we did online. So yes, we can do something, was a thought that time. And uh, then everything slowly fell in place. Then when shall we do it again? That was a, shall we do it in June? No, June not. No, we are not yet ready with the July. No, we are not yet ready. Then of course it had to happen. Yes, Jyothi.
No, and we always had Parvati to tell us, no, you have to set a deadline. So if you remember, she was the one who would drive the deadlines and say, no more postponing, let's do it. And for me, the beautiful thing about Maanini was how we chose the stories. Each one of us chose a story that actually spoke to us. Meera, okay, let me not reveal what happens in Maanini, but all I can say is that the stories that each one of us chose for Maanini were just made for us. So I think that made the production even more special because all those stories came from the heart. And Krishna also happens to be my favorite god. I think he rescues damsels in distress always. So, he's my favorite god. So I wanted to be a part of Manini no matter what. If you remember, I had almost said I'm not going to take part, but then the pull of the pull of Krishna was too strong, and the whole thing came together, and it was a beautiful experience. The rehearsals, the fun we had, so all of it was a beautiful experience, and I loved being a part of Manini. Right, Anagha? What do you say?
Oh, definitely, of course. And I think it was also about how we chose, no? When we talked about the women in Krishna's life, like how Jyoti said, there are so many women, and to actually point down and bring it down to four, five, six, seven. How many women? Yeah, it is really difficult for us. But like how Jyoti said, those women just spoke to us saying, okay, this is where we connect. So, yeah, Krishna is there, but yes. And then we took them. And like how everybody said, it was so tough because lockdown was suddenly announced. None of us had clue of household chores. Maid stopped managing everything. Plus, we had to do this. So 12:30. Okay, we'll have cookers. So we would cut vegetables, have rehearsals. We would wash vessels, have rehearsals. So I think it really, and also I think one other thing was uh, it really bonded us, through this storytelling and this Manini. Though we never met, not once we could actually meet in person. It was everything was online, but we bonded so beautifully. And I think the biggest challenge was how do we do it on Zoom? Because Zoom was so new to all of us back then. So we had to have special technical rehearsals for that, where we say unmute, mute, spotlight. Now it is like, why did we do all those things? But the first show in August, oh, the technical part was actually more difficult than the actual rehearsals per se. But yeah, I think everything put together, I think it was just like how they say, when it has to happen, the calling comes. So it was like Krishna just said, okay, wait for me, I'm coming. That time, tell me all the stories and you will be happy. And yes, not just us, the audience also were really happy. And that made us
Yes.
really happy. So, yes, that is Manini.
Thank you, Anagha. Thank you, Jyothi. Thank you, Parvathy and Meera, for that lovely little insight into your production, Maanini. So, not having divulged much, I think they have whetted your appetite. And I would love to see it again. And here I want to share one secret. Um, uh, after seeing Manani, um, I'll just backtrack and say I have done productions where I've involved a dancer and I've told stories, especially Ramayana. You know, after seeing Manini, it kind of inspired me to collaborate with a poet, a dancer, a musician, and a painter. And in the pandemic, soon after Janmashtami, just before Ganesh Chaturthi, we came up with Gajamukha.
Oh, okay.
So, my dream has always been to collaborate with other artists because storytelling is an art form, and it is lovely to experiment. Hence, I experimented with puppets, and then I have seen small house concerts where designers, dancers, musicians come together and perform their stories, kind of chamber concerts. So I've always thought, why not collaborate on the big screen? And this is and thanks for inspiring me when we came with Gajamukha. And then, of course, I did the Ash Demon with Anupama. Because then I realized it's easier to work with just two people. Because for the creative journey and for the outcome um, is much more fruitful for me, if I work with a few people, because you need a big canvas, but it was fun. I agree with you that it was fun during the pandemic to work on. And so thank you for inspiring me, ladies. Now, since we have a time limit, I would now request Meera to tell us a story, to share a favorite story of yours. As I said, the USP of Storytellers Cafe is storytelling. And we will follow the part two of this episode with you four ladies on the 5th of September. And if we are running out of time, we'll continue with it on the 12th of September. And of course, 30th, Maanini will be streamed live on Bharat FM Storytellers Cafe. So, Meera, I'm going to spotlight you. And the stage is yours, and you can tell us what story that you're going to share, and then I leave the whole stage to you.
Okay, so this actually happens to be one of the stories which I really loved. This is actually a Sufi tale. The Sufi tale revolves around building fire, but it has really nothing to do with fire. And somewhere I feel I resonate so much with this, and it brings out the beauty or the power of storytelling in ways which probably the initial storyteller never intended. There are so many layers to this beautiful story, and that's why I wanted to share this story with all of you today.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, as I said, this story is all about a man who thought or who built fire. Well, as you all know, fire is one of the most iconic and ironic discoveries of mankind, right? So powerful, but so destructive, so useful, all of them at the same time. So it was when Noor discovered fire. When he struck the stones and the fire sparks emitted, and soon he realized that he could build the fire. And this fire did so many things which nobody ever thought is possible. Food tasted better, the nights were warmer, there were so many things, the animals, there was much more safety, of course. And Noor was a good man. He was a man who was good at heart. And so he decided that this gift that he had discovered should belong to everyone, not just him. And so he carried his stones and he carried the fuel which she should use to keep the fire alive and traveled through the land. He went through the tribes, he went to all the tribes, he walked through the forests, and whomever he met, he told them how to make fire, how to sustain the fire, what fire can do for you. And of course, with all his work done, Noor did return back to his land. A few centuries later, when Noor's fire kept the world alive, his stories were also kept alive. So his disciples told these stories to the others, and they told the stories to the others. And as stories have ways of keep being kept alive by being passed on, the same happened to Noor's story. And so one day, a young boy who heard this story, he decided that he would like to check out what people were doing with Noor's fire. Of course, he could see it around him, the place where he lived. Fire was now commonplace. Everyone used it. It was not as if it was not a great discovery. It was just there. But what about the others? What about the others whom Noor had met to talk about the fire? What were they doing with it? And so this young, curious boy decided to go on a journey tracing the paths taken by Noor. And as he set forth and reached the first place. It was a tribe. They were all small tribes who were scattered through the land. As he reached the place, he realized that something was seriously wrong. It was a morning, of course, so there was no need to light the fire, but you could see people shivering in the cold, and they were eating raw meat. What happened to the fire? Why was it not being used? So he walked up to the guard who was guarding the camp, and he asked him, he told him, I am a disciple of a disciple of the disciple of the disciple of Noor. So I wanted to check something with you. Yes. I wanted to check, you did get fire. Immediately the man's face changed. It was aflame with anger. He dragged this young boy down the tunnels and to a deep underground cave. And right there in the corner, the boy saw a huge fire ablaze. Ah, he thought, so they are using fire. I was wrong. That's good, he said. But a voice rang out. What is good? I said, I'm glad you're using fire, but I have a question. Why aren't the people outside this cave? Why aren't they using fire? Because only I control it. I am the most powerful man here because I have what is most powerful, fire. And that is the stories I have told them. That the fire belongs to me, the fire belongs to the brave, the fire belongs to the powerful. It's not the common property of the people around here. Well, said this young boy, but that is not what Noor said. Who is Noor? The man who brought you fire. Have you come here have you brought fire again? I have the stones. Go away from here if you value your life. The young boy shrank back. I don't mean any harm. I'm trying to help. If you ever come here again, you will not be in any position to help. Get lost. The boy ran from there. He was shocked. This was not the kind of stories that he had heard. What was going wrong? Leave it. This must be a one-off case where, people didn't understand what was happening. So he went along the winding paths to other places, and finally it was night when he came to the second tribe. And of course, there too he saw the same thing, shivering in the cold. No light. Animals all around. So he went up to the people and told them, see, I am a disciple of a disciple of the disciple of Noor, and I just wanted to see what you are all doing with the fire. Huh? Fire? Huh? What is that? Fire! Fire! Noor bought it. Noor. You remember Noor? No such person ever came here. Huh? Oh, the stones. He bought stones. The stones. Yes. Now you remember. The stones. They were the stones which fell from the sky. They are the holy stones. No, you're mistaken. I don't think we're talking about the same thing. I'm talking about the stones which you strike. Like this. Come here. They took him to a temple where the two stones were kept. Yes, that is the one. You have to take them and then strike them, and then the fire will... No. These are the stones which fell from heaven. They are not to be touched. They're not to be touched, my friend. Every day you get up in the morning and go around them 5 times. What? And then you do sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up 5 times. Really? And then you wash all the area around it. What? This are called... You give it to me. I'll show you. Don't you dare touch it. Our ancestors told us what it was. They are the holy stones, and they are the reason we are still alive today. They protect us. Please listen to me. I know what to... See? We are good people. We will not harm you, but don't come and question our customs. Go away from here right now. If you want to rest, if you want some food, we will provide you. We don't have any enmity with you. But don't ever question what we do. Said Noor. Noor's disciple. I mean, fine. I don't think I can do anything here. He was a little disappointed by now. They didn't even know Noor. Well, anyway, so he went on and went on along his path and reached the third tribe. And when he looked inside, he saw a huge statue of Noor right in the middle of their settlement. Ha! They remember him, he said, and went up and looked. I know, he's Noor. Noor, said the people. Yes, he's Noor, he brought fire. Fire! Well, yes, where's the fire? Huh? What fire? He's Noor, right? Yes, Noor, he's our God. You're mistaken. He's not God. He brought fire. You take the two stones, you strike it, and then the fire comes out from that, and then you add fuel. Maybe, but we don't know that. All we know is that he's our God. I don't think he ever wanted to be God. What does it matter? No, God wants to be God. They are God because they are God. Okay, do you use fire? Of course not. How can we meddle with something that was given by God? We never use it. But we worship him every day. And there is a statue of Noor in every house in this settlement. We respect him. He's great. He brought us a message. He brought you a message saying that the message was that you should use fire. But you want to worship, you worship. If you don't want to worship, you go. The boy was completely disillusioned by now. All the effort that Noor put into his journey, walking from place to spread fire, is this what it had come to? Each of them had their own stories which they had passed on from generations to generation. And none of them led to the actual use of fire. He decided that he would go back. As he was on his way back, he was extremely tired and he saw a settlement in the distance. He saw the settlement in the distance because of the fire that was ablaze there. The fire, they're using it. He immediately went there and stood looking at it. He warmed himself with the fire, and soon one of the elders came over and said, "Traveler, you seem to be tired. Would you like some food?" Yes, I would like some food. You have fire? Yes. There was a great man called Noor who came a long time back. It was ages and ages and ages ago. He taught us how to make fire. And the story of how he made the fire and the learning from it has been passed on through the generations. And even today, we use the same method to keep the fire alive. And that has given us so much happiness. Well, said the boy, I am so glad. Now, I don't know what to say. But how did it happen? And all those three tribes, they know, all of you got the same information. How is it that you're using it differently? Well, said the elder, it all goes down to the stories you hear. If you hear the right stories, you tend to do the right things with them. If you hear the wrong stories, you will tend to do what may be wrong with them. Well, and that is how the disciple of the disciple of the disciple of the disciple of Noor learned a lot about human psychology, but a lot more about the stories. Thank you. That was my story.
Thank you, Meera. That was lovely. This reminds me of when a storyteller tells a story, the audience makes an informed choice. So, what story he carries, it's each one's, choice. So, this was wonderful about Noor and the fire and how some of them worshipped and built a statue. Wonderful, Meera. Thank you for that story. And to all the listeners watching Storytellers Cafe all across the United States and also India and especially Bangalore, this is part one of the episode with the four wonderful women were produced who come together to showcase Maanini. And this will be showcased tomorrow on the occasion of Janmashtami on Storytellers Cafe on Bharat FM. The time will be communicated to you. We'll create a poster and we will share it. But stay tuned and watch Manini. So thank you, Meera. Till we
Thank
meet next week when I bring all the four of you once again. So, listeners, you've been listening to Storytellers Cafe with four wonderful women. You can see their names running across the ticker: Meera Venkatesan, Parvathy Eswaran, Jyoti Kunjoor, and Anagha Prasad. This is a two-part episode. And if we don't finish it, then it'll be a three-part episode. So stay tuned for the part two of Storytellers Cafe with the Maanini team for the 5th of September. So thank you for listening to Storytellers Cafe. And you know that it's already there in the archives. You can go and listen to this episode whenever you want. So it's good night from me, good evening, and a wonderful good day to all the listeners in the United States. Stay tuned and listen to Storytellers Cafe next week.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one of its kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information, and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago, and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sfurti, shakti, and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.